running a large majority of the meeting. Matt and Ben are here in the pool office with me. That was me waving. That was Ben waving. And we all have our masks on, of course, so please forgive me for if you have a hard time hearing me. We're recording this meeting. Oh, and Coach Kristen is in the meeting as well via Zoom. So if you have diving questions, we've got her as well. We are recording this meeting, and we'll put it on the SSC YouTube channel as soon as we are able to do so. We have a pretty full agenda for the evening, but I did want to let you know we had a really awesome senior team meeting tonight, and then each senior group by gender led a team meeting with their team. So the senior girls led a meeting with the girls team, and the senior boys led a meeting with the boys team. And I was really impressed. They did a great job, and Coach Hobbaker was in the meeting a little bit. Coach K, our weights coach, Zoom called in at one point, and there was some staff in there. So it was really very good. We are going to provide time for questions at the end of the meeting, but would ask if you have questions to just go ahead and throw them in the chat. And you could throw them in the chat to everyone or to me or to Coach Hobbaker, it doesn't matter. We'll get to them as soon as we can. So I want to thank you all for your patience. It took us a while to get the schedule out. We wanted to have it out last week, but with the big changes through the Fishers Health Department, we waited until Friday, and then we had to get some things approved this week. So we're pretty encouraged by what's going on. And I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to Greg, and he's going to run through a list of things that he has, and then I'll have some more things. So Coach Hobbaker, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Coach Peterson. And let me just echo Coach Peterson's comments. I do appreciate your being willing to give up part of your night tonight on a short notice, and just listen as we go through some things and answer questions that you might have. I'm sure you're tired of hearing this, but man, am I getting weary, and I'm sure you are as well, with just life in general. Life here in the school is just not the same when kids aren't here. I didn't get into this business to sit in my office with the door shut and be on a Zoom. I got into this business to be around kids. And right now, other than athletics, we're just not able to do that, and that hurts. And so I am so excited that we get to swim next week. Can't wait to watch the kids compete. And I'm going to hang on like you are, that we're going to be able to get through this season and do it as well as we can. What I want to just plow through tonight are logistics. And I know this is not exciting stuff, but it is stuff that's important for where we are right now. And so let's just go through this. My goal is to get through this maybe within 30 minutes if we can. Like Andy said, we want to answer questions. We don't want you to sign off tonight with more questions. We want you to get those answered to the best of our ability. So that's our goal for tonight. You know, as we embark on winter sports, I would tell you that our goal at HSE Athletics is no different than it was back in July, when we all got out of lockdown and we started introducing back high school sports to our kids. Our absolute number one goal in all of this is to keep athletes, coaches, and families safe. Bottom line, that is the absolute number one goal. Secondly, our goal is to continue to allow our kids to practice and to get the opportunity to compete. That's our second goal. A third goal is to allow moms and dads and families to get to watch their sons or daughters compete. And those are in order, obviously, but those are our three goals. And so just about everything we're going to talk about tonight has something to do with maintaining or keeping those goals. Again, keep everybody safe, allow kids to compete, and then allow you eventually, or hopefully all season long, to be able to watch your kids compete. And let me just say too that those aren't just hopes or dreams. That's what drives us every day. So everything we do has the intention to keep those goals in mind. We're not leaving things up to chance or being haphazard about those. We're trying hard to make those things happen. If you haven't heard, guessing you have, but last Friday, the Fishers Health Department made some recommendations based on the governor's address to our state last Friday, and then also in cooperation with our school district. We feel like we have a clearer picture this week than we did even last week with what winter sports is going to look like moving forward. Now, understand this is all as of right now as we speak, knowing that things can change in a New York second, but we're hoping that this is what it's going to be, at least in the immediate future. Spectator capacity at events right now, at high school events, is limited to obviously the participants, parents or guardians and siblings, and then whatever essential personnel we need to host that event. So understand that I said parents or guardians and siblings. For a while there, we were using the phrase immediate family. And we were pretty liberal about what that meant. Grandpas and grandmas, cousins, aunts, uncles, whatever. But right now, the understanding and the expectation is that it be parents, guardians, and siblings only that attend the events. We'll get into ticketing and how you are able to get into events here in just a few minutes. But with the natatorium, the size that it is, depending on the activity, or excuse me, the competition or event, we hope we can get you at least a couple tickets for your family, or maybe get everybody in that wants to get in. Again, that's going to depend on the actual event, and we'll get there in a minute. But moms and dads, please understand, I'm pleading with you. I'm begging you, so to speak. I think you want what we want, and so we want to work together to do this. And we need your help more than we ever have. We need your help with this. As we talk about moms, dads, or siblings, we're not going to be able to give you like electronic tickets. If we say 2 tickets per family, we're not going to be able to customize it so you can go online and buy just 2 tickets. But we're just going to trust you that if you heard us say for this individual event, it's 2 tickets, then please buy 2 tickets. Well, again, we want to trust you that you can do this and that you'll do the right thing. Because the bottom line is, if we don't do that part well, we're on the verge of having to say, you know what, no fans at all. We're just going to have to go with the competitors. So please understand, I'm not trying to doubt that you'll do the right thing, but I'm just asking for your help. Again, we'll cover how you get tickets and how we go about that here in just a few minutes. But know that we're in this thing together. We really are. We are thinking here safety first at all times. And please understand that we trust our coaches are doing the right thing. You know, when July hit and we got back here in the building, I told somebody today that man, it felt like we were walking on eggshells. If you think back to the State of the Union at that point, you know, we were coming out of lockdown. We were slowly opening up athletics. Every kid had to have their own water bottle and a mask and their own towel. And we weren't getting within 10 feet of each other in the weight room. And we were slowly getting back into activities. But it took really until fall sports officially began, first week of August, to let even remotely look like what I know is high school sports. And, you know, I think looking now at the numbers and how things look and comparing this back to August, I think right now we might be more fragile than we were back then even. And so we are back into that mode of safety first. And again, I walk into the natatorium and our coaches are masked up. I walk into our weight room coaches and our coaches are masked up. I think we are doing some things that are what we need to be doing. So what I want to just focus on for a second is what it looks like then when you and your families walk into our natatorium. If Coach Self and I could do this or determine this on our own, we want Hamilton Southeastern to be the one that sets the bar, sets the example, or the standard for what it looks like to host an event. We want people to be here and enjoy the competition and to leave thinking, you know what, they are doing it as well as they can. They are doing it safely and guaranteeing that our kids are going to continue to have opportunities. And that's, again, where we're going to partner with you and use your help. So that means when you come, we want you to have a mask on and have it on at all times. We want you to sit with your families if your family comes together. Andy's got X's on the bleachers in there because that's where kids have been using to separate and space out as he meets with them and does team activities. Well, we know that if you've got 3 people or 4 people in your family, you don't all fit on one X. But we want you to sit together if you're comfortable with that from your family. But then that means the people around you've got to just pay attention and try and keep a good social distance away. Here's what I observed during fall athletics is that as we started competitions in the fall, families were great about staying distant. The longer it went, the more comfortable we got with competing and watching our kids compete, and the more longing we have to be connected and to be with our friends, it got harder and harder to keep people separated and to be socially distant. And I understand that. You guys probably have not seen a lot of kids, or excuse me, a lot of friends, but we need your help in doing that. So please work at sitting apart from each other and not being right on top of one another while you're in the natatorium. Our phrase around here has become, when in doubt, spread out. We want to do that to help keep kids safe. You should already know this, but if you don't, you know, your swimmers, when they're not competing, are going to be in a mask. That's kind of been the standard here in athletics, whether it's volleyball or cross country or whatever. When the kids are in the middle of their workouts or competition, they don't wear a mask. But when they're not competing, we're going to ask that they be in a face mask. We're going to expect them to try their best and remain socially distant. What we're typically used to seeing when athletes are done with their competition, they line up and they shake hands with the other team and tell them, you know, good meet. Well, we can't do that under COVID. So fall sport teams got pretty creative of lining up distant from the opponent team, clapping, waving, telling them good match or good meet, but just not doing that normal handshake. So those are the kind of things I think you're going to see that are different, but things that we certainly expect. This is also going to sound harsh and very cold, but please understand that when we get done with a meet, done with a competition, our expectation is going to need to be that you try and exit the natatorium as soon as you can. I know you're used to standing around talking or waiting for your son or daughter until they come out of the locker room, but we'd like you to meet them out in the parking lot or meet them out by your car and just exit so we don't have groups of people being too close together. As you know, in our natatorium, there's really only one main entrance in and out. And so that bottlenecks and we get crowds of people, and we're just trying to stay away from that. So please do your best. We'll try and announce it over the PA, but just try and exit as best you can after competitions are over. Let's talk transportation. This is one that's really been affected by COVID issues and the whole idea of safety and social distancing. Transportation to events this year. It can look like it always has, where your son or daughter gets on a bus. Please know that we're going to try and do our best to keep them 6 feet apart at least, more if there is room. But new this year, we're going to allow moms and dads to take their sons or daughters to competition. You can actually drive them there, drive them home. You know, I think of it a little bit like the old junior high model. If you remember junior high, and if their sons or daughters were involved in sports at the junior high, that was more common. We don't like that from a team standpoint. We certainly don't like it from a convenience for moms and dads. But in the times that we're in, if you feel like that's a better option for you and your son or daughter or your family, that you transport them, that we're going to allow that this year. The one thing that we have to have from you is a signed waiver form, and we have that in my office. I am going to give that to Coach Peterson or whomever your communications person is, and he can get that to you. It just requires that you fill out the appropriate information, sign it, and get it back really to your coaches. I can help with that, but it really goes to your coaches. Here's where we run into a little bit of an issue with swimming that we didn't run into in other sports. Take next Tuesday, for example. We got a dual meet at Noblesville. Noblesville is going to split that meet up into a girls' meet and a boys' meet. And if you attend the girls' meet, then you leave after that, and then the boys' meet people come in and we host that event. But they are not allowing HSE to have any fans that night because it's being treated there as their senior night. They want to afford as many tickets as they can to their kids' seniors or their parents. And so therefore there's not any room for the Royals. We understand, we get it. But we know that that's going to be more difficult for you to take your son or daughter to the event, get home or get somewhere where you watch a live stream of the event, and then pick your son or daughter up and then take them home. So my point in all that is this, that we were hoping that you would sign that waiver one time, and then it would apply to the entire year. But we also know that there's going to be events where you're not welcome to go attend, and then others where you are welcome to go attend. So we'd like to do this. We'd like you to sign that waiver form at the start of the year or before your son or daughter first rides with you. And then if there's a time where they're going to ride the bus, that just get communicated to your coaches with enough advance notice, whether it's the day before or a couple days before. Hopefully that makes sense. Communication is just going to be the key here as best we can.
Hey, Greg.
Yes, sir.
Hey, just Greg and I have spent a lot of time going back and forth on this bus thing, guys. I just want to make sure everybody understands we will have room, plenty of room for everyone to go on the buses because we're basically going to run 4 buses. We're going to run 2 sets of buses to each competition. It is our hope that once we get into some meets where they're going to allow us to have spectators, that some of you will be able to bring your daughters or sons to the meet and then take them home. But obviously, just like Greg talked about with Noblesville, it's going to be really difficult for you to take your kid to the meet, get back, find some place where you can watch the meet, and then come back and pick them up. So right now, we kind of have a lot of flexibility. We'll be able to take them to the meet. Like Homestead would be a good example. I don't think anybody's going to drive their child to Homestead because what they're telling us right now is there's not going to be any fans at Homestead. That's not a done deal, but we will have room for every away meet. We will have room on the buses for every single athlete. Did you already say that, Greg? I'm sorry if you did.
No, I don't think I did, but that's a good emphasis. And I guess that also then just leads me to, do we believe it's safe to ride the bus? Absolutely. We wouldn't put kids in a situation where we felt like it was dangerous. So we're extending that opportunity if you're more comfortable with driving them on a bus.
Yeah, I think it's probably important, Greg, to point out that kind of the reason we got into that habit was the fall sports. Many of them had, football had spectators, and a lot of the fall sports were outdoors. So we really got in the habit of many parents driving their kids to and from events. And it's just going to be a little bit different with winter, I think.
Yep, good point. And a couple common questions that maybe you're thinking, I'll just go ahead and mention now. We often get asked, can I, as a parent, take my son or daughter and his best friend if that best friend's mom and dad are okay with it? And at this point, we cannot do that. That waiver form that you sign is that you are going to transport your son or daughter, but not anybody else's kids. Also, under no circumstance are we allowing kids to drive themselves. That we can't do that. I would hope that you would understand that as well. So either their options are ride with their own parents or they ride on the bus. And hopefully, again, that makes sense to you from a safety and a liability standpoint. As we talk about travel into other schools, let's just touch quickly on that. I would tell you that we've had conversations as a conference You know, you think about who our conference schools are: Avon, Brownsburg, Zionsville, Fishers, Westfield, Noblesville, Franklin Central. I would tell you, out of 8 teams, there's probably going to be 8 different formats that we're going to run into for dual meets, because everybody's facility is different. Everybody has their own opinion about what's the most efficient way or fair way to do this. We're going to see JV first and then varsity. You're going to see girls first and then boys. You're going to see boys first and then girls. Different times of the evening. This is going to be one of the most chaotic, eclectic set of meets that we've ever had. And I'm just going to warn you right up front that we're going to just have to make sure we are communicating with each other. We're checking websites to make sure we have times right. We're going to do our very best to make sure each week we're preparing you for what it's going to look like. Our plan, like Andy mentioned, is to make sure we are busing to that event, and then those kids will not stay for the second part or group 2 event. They'll come back. So we'll have plenty of bus rides and able to shuttle them back and forth. Hopefully that makes sense. I do know, with being all virtual now at HSE, this changes the game a little bit. You know, back just even last week or in the previous weeks, we've been 50-50. There were a lot of moving parts, a lot of variables when it came to positive tests, COVID positives, who's identified as a close contact, how long are they out, how long is the person who's actually positive out, what's the difference between isolation and quarantine. There's just a lot of again, variables. By being all virtual, the people here in our school that have been involved in those investigations, they're still going to be involved, but just not going to be as much because, again, kids aren't in the building. But let's just talk through this real quick. You may get notified, or you would be notified, if there is a positive situation among our team, certainly among a group where your son or daughter might have been a part of that. It could be one of the deans here at HSE. It could be the school nurse. It could be both of them. The deans work on investigating close contacts. Who was near somebody who has tested positive? The school nurse is going to be involved with what that means then for your son or daughter. They'll try and help you identify how long you're going to be out and what that looks like then for re-entry or coming back at the end of your quarantine time. You could get a call from one of our trainers, Kristen Carden or Sean Clancy. You know, they are our athletic liaison, so to speak, between the school nurses, you, and the athletic department. They may help establish as well when that re-entry date or when that return to play date is. Please understand that we're going to try and do our very best, but you may have an opinion about what that looks like and when your athlete could return, but we are going to go by what those healthcare professionals tell us. And again, this may be old information. Forgive me if I'm, boring you with facts that you already know, but right now, close contact is being defined by 6 feet or less for a span of 15 minutes. And that's not consecutive 15 minutes. That's a total of 15 minutes. So let's just take a bus ride, for example. If your son or daughter is seated and there's somebody that's within 6 feet of them, maybe for 10 minutes, they go away. Then on the way back, they come there 10 minutes again. If it's a total of 15 minutes, they're going to be defined as a close contact. If you are a close contact with somebody who's positive, you're going to be out 14 days from exposure, as long as you stay symptom-free. One misconception people have had is that if their son or daughter is a close contact, if they go get a negative test, then they think they can return to action. And that's not the case. A negative test does not supersede that time frame of 14 days or a close contact. If your son or daughter does test positive, they're going to be out 10 days from when they had symptoms, or 10 days from the date the test was taken if there are no symptoms. Let me say that one again. If they're positive, They're going to be out 10 days from when they had symptoms or from the date their test was taken if they're asymptomatic. Hopefully that makes sense. People have been very confused by why you're out less time when you're positive versus more time if you're a close contact. And I'm not going to pretend to be a healthcare professional, but as I understand it, kids that are exposed, that positivity can show up at different times. And so they have to go the length of that 14 days to make sure they're not going to show symptoms or become positive. Please just help us by staying vigilant. Really now more than ever, we all know numbers are up. If your son or daughter feels sick, please keep them home. Monitor their symptoms, and if you feel like it could be COVID, please get them checked and then report to your coaches what's going on or what that looks like. We really hope kids will be great teammates, and we've seen that demonstrated in other sports. Kids are doing unbelievable with this, more so probably than I would have handled it as a kid. We know they want to compete, but we also know that if they don't communicate what's going on, they're putting themselves and their teammates at risk. You know, there have been teams in Indiana in other sports who go great entire season and they don't miss any competitions. And then lo and behold, the state tournament starts and they have to quarantine, or that their program is getting shut down. And some of that's out of our control or their control. But if there are things that we can do to be in control of that, that's what we want to do. Again, I go back to our goals. We want to see kids be safe. We want to see coaches be safe. We want to see them compete. We want to see you have an opportunity to watch them. So that's why we are doing all of that. If you have questions about that, again, any mention, type those into the chat room, or we can talk about that here in a minute. But I want to just talk through that because there might be some confusion that we can clear up by talking about that. We're getting close, so thanks for hanging in there with me. Events here at home. Again, I said it earlier, I can't wait till next Tuesday as we get competition starting, but I can't wait till we have an event here. I miss watching kids compete. And I will tell you, I've said this publicly before your parent group before, that I knew nothing about swimming and diving when I became an athletic director 16 years ago. I tell my athletic director friends and I tell my family or whomever will listen that I think swimming and diving is one of the best kept secrets in high school sports. The effort that kids give, the work ethic that they demonstrate, the enthusiasm at events. The state tournament run in 2 weeks is unlike anything that I've ever been around. And so I so long want to see that. That's why I'm excited. So when we host events here, we're going to try and get away from using cash. We're going to get to using e-tickets. We did not do that this fall here, but we're trying that this winter. We're going to use a program called GoFan. GoFan is just a tool or a website that's helping us by setting up these electronic tickets. So when we tell you through Andy or through your communication piece that your family can have 4 tickets, if you have parent, guardian, siblings that need 4 tickets, you're going to go to this website and you're going to purchase 4 tickets. When you come to the event, your ticket's going to be on your phone. I don't have it pulled up like it looks, but when you show your phone, you're going to get to a spot on the app that's going to have a button that will say validate. You're going to get it to that screen, and then you're going to walk up to one of our workers that's there at the table, and they'll let you do it, or they'll have a stylist, and they'll hit the phone, and it will activate your tickets, and then you'll be into the event. So it's a way, hopefully, to keep from having to mess with cash, touching paper bills, touching things that we don't need to be touching. But hopefully it's an efficient way for you to get into games or into events. The first time you do it, it might be a little confusing, but it's very user-friendly, and we feel good about the situation. So that's what digital ticketing will look like when you come to HSE. If you don't get to come, or if you choose not to come, every home event that we have will either be broadcast by our Southeastern Sports Network and the kids in the class that do that broadcast, or at the very least, it's going to be live streamed without being broadcast. So right now, we're not exactly sure what this looks like as far as charging for it. I would tell you that all live stream events are going to be free. We have the capability to charge when it's a broadcast, but I'm not sure yet where we are at with that. I apologize for not having a definitive answer, but we may charge for some of those events. I hope you can understand where we are as an athletic department. Folks, we are 100% funded by gate receipts. And so this fall, for example, when we can't have a capacity crowd for a Mudsock football game, it takes quite a bit of money out of our budget, out of our bucket. Most of the fall, we were able to have fans. We just weren't able to have full capacity. Well, we are looking winter now at a similar situation where it's going to be minimal fans. We hope we make enough to pay those starters or those officials that are working our events. But we may get to where we charge for a broadcast. If we do that, it would be $8 for the link. As many people at your house that want to watch on that $8 will be able to do that. So I think it's still of good value. If we go away from charging, you may hear us come at you at some point going, you know what? We brought this live stream to you. Would you be willing to donate a little bit to HSE Athletics? And we'll let you decide if you want to do that. But again, stay tuned for that. Again, it goes back to our goals. We want you to be able to watch your son or daughter compete. And so that's why we're doing that. At this point, that's really what logistics I needed to cover. Be happy to answer questions, or Andy, however you want to do that. Let's get those questions answered.
Let's try to, guys, if you could, please put the questions in the chat, because we're running a little long. I don't want to keep you, and we have just a couple more things to cover. Greg, I don't know, can you see this, the question in the chat? Or I'll just read it. If athletes are out for a close contact quarantine, how many practices must they attend before they qualify to swim in a meet? That's ironic, because Greg and I actually, when we were working on the agenda, we talked about putting that in here, and we forgot to do that.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm sorry I didn't remember. Depending on how many practices are actually missed, and understand, I didn't say how many days, it's how many actual practices are missed. So if an athlete, let's just say on a normal year, an athlete has an injury and they miss anywhere from 5 to 10 practices, they have to get 4 practices in after they return before they can compete. That makes sense? So if they miss 4 to 10 practices and then they're cleared to return, they've got to get 4 practices in before they can compete. A practice is 1 day. They can't count morning and afternoon as 2 practices. They practice a day. If there's a meet, they can't count that as a practice. Now, if they stay back with some coaches, or if it's a home meet and they actually put in the time to practice, absolutely we can count that. If they, heaven forbid, are out longer, so if you have a 14-day quarantine and you miss more than 10 practices in that time, then you got to get 6 practices in. So the unfortunate part is a 14-day quarantine that results in the need for 6 practices. You could be out for 3 weeks.
20 days, yeah.
Yeah, yep. So again, those are not designed to be punitive. That's not a punishment. It's really designed to be a safety issue. So we make sure we're not throwing athletes back into the heat of competition and not being physically ready to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's – oh, sorry, Greg.
No, just real quick, Andy. I didn't mention the part about it is a requirement, too. If your athlete tests positive, they are not able to return on their return date unless they have a doctor's clearance. Your doctor, your family doctor, whomever you trust will need to sign off that they are okay. You know, I think one thing that will be a ripple effect or a remnant from COVID-19 is unfortunately, some of the long-lasting effects. of people that get this and are positive. So far, you know, it sure looks like the kids in this age demographic are recovering great. But we have heard some issues of some kids who have had some cardiac or respiratory issues. So that's why we need doctor's clearance. And we want to make sure that if there's any issues, somebody else that's qualified to assess that or to help with that is doing that. Thanks, Andy.
Well, please understand, those are IHSA guidelines, not necessarily HSE guidelines. It's for all sports. Greg, there was another question here. Will e-tickets be available for purchase per week since capacity has to be flexible? No advance tickets purchases correct, or comma correct, question mark.
Yeah, that's correct. We'll have to just go meet by meet and really day by day. Okay. You know, we're holding out hope that the line begins to trend back toward orange in Fishers, Indiana, and we get told that we can get up to 25% capacity, or we can allow more people in. And so we'll offer more tickets for sale. So yeah, we'll not be selling advance tickets more than maybe a day or two before the actual event.
Yeah. Guys, I just have a couple of announcements, and I'll kind of rattle through them here quickly and keep an eye on the chat. Okay, here's another question. How will locker rooms work since they have low ventilation and will ensure contact? Well, nothing ensures contact. Hold on. But let me, as I answer that, one of the very first things I was going to tell you is our COVID-19 liaison / person in charge is Coach Papakronis. He's an RN, and he's done a really good job since day one back in May and April for us. So I'm going to let him answer that question. He's really happy to do that. But we've been really strict on the locker rooms, and we have measured the locker rooms square footage more than 10 times for sure, just to make sure we're being as strict as possible. But basically, and I'll let him chime in, we basically want people showing up in their suits and leaving in their suits.
I think, hi everybody. I think Andy more or less answered that already. We're going to treat the locker room usage at a meet no different than we would at practice. And so we're going to follow the same kind of measurements and head count restrictions that we do. For those of you that are kind of familiar with our club operations, we literally restrict the number of athletes that can enter the locker room at one point in time. So we'll use that basic philosophy in there, preach to our athletes to make sure they maintain their distance while they're in the locker room, keep their masks on when they're in the locker room. But ultimately, I think the most important thing here is that we're just making sure that we don't exceed X number of athletes in that locker room. I think the one kind of unknown is when we visit another facility, and we'll just have to lean on their instructions and their leadership and kind of, I'm sure that'll be one of the informational downloads we get every time we travel is, how do we do the locker rooms and things like that. So we'll pick up that information from wherever we travel. But as far as use for our own locker rooms, we're just going to manage that the same way that we would for any practice.
Yeah, and we've kind of been working through that already. We had a meet at the NAT where kids had to go and put their racing suits on. So that was kind of a situation we couldn't really plan for ahead of time. We couldn't ask kids to show up at the facility in their racing suits. And then in addition to that, it takes so long to put some of those suits on. And we just worked through it, and the host worked through it with us. So that'll be a site-by-site challenge that we'll have to deal with. I mean, I imagine when we go to Homestead and people are going to be sitting on a bus for an hour and a half to 2 hours, that could be kind of uncomfortable in a swimsuit. So we're just going to have to work through that, and we'll do our very best. There's another question here: are you going to mandate the kids to wear masks while doing physical activities, or only while in between activities? Oh, these are not plants. These are you guys are segueing me into my discussion. So my discussion with the seniors tonight was fantastic. And like I said, Matt, as our COVID guy, was in there. I was in there, and then Coach Habeger was in there. It was basically like an audit of our current situation. We had kind of heard some rumblings from some parents too, that maybe we weren't doing as good a job as we could have been or should be doing in the weight room. So basically, here's a statement that we're adding to our rules. and then I'll give you the steps that we're going to take to help with that. The statement is HSE swimmers and divers will wear masks at all times during dry land activities and on deck at practices or meets. Student athletes may move the mask off their nose or mouth momentarily during strenuous exercise only, and only if they are outside of another person's 6-foot bubble. The way that we're going to basically take 3 steps to try to make that more possible. First of all, I want you to know, I'm not sure what the letter grade would be for in the weight room, but guys, we're being pretty strict here. I don't know if we're getting an A, but it's darn close. We're really helping the kids stay apart from each other. The maximum number allowed in the weight room by the school system is 48. We're actually at 39 or at 37, depending on the group that's in there, or the divers are even less. And so we're really, it's pretty good in there, but we're going to do 3 other things. Number one, when we do sprints in the gym, we're going to turn that into a station so that it will just be a 5th of the kids that are in there. So in other words, instead of having the whole team do sprints at once, we were doing sprints where they were 6 feet apart at least, but we were trying to do it in a team building manner. And I see Mrs. Kylie laughing. I don't think she believes they were 6 feet apart. I don't mean to embarrass you or call you out, but you be careful, please. We're here. You're hearing things, and you guys aren't here. Guys, we're working so hard to do this, and I know you have your doubts, but this is not a joke to us. We are truly taking this very seriously. I spend more time talking to kids about social distancing than I do about their strokes, which is really unfortunate because that's what coaches do now. But this is not something we take lightly. So that's what we're going to do with sprints. We're going to move. Since our numbers are so low in the weight room anyway, we're going to try to, without singling anyone out or making anyone feel odd, we're going to offer anyone that would like a little more space. We've got room to offer them more space because we're not even using the whole weight room at this point. So that's the second thing we're going to do, and the senior is going to head that up and help with that. And then we're going to offer all of you the option of removing your student athletes from weights. If you would like them not to do weights, then they can be removed from weights and they can swim instead during the weightlifting time period. So those are the things that we're going to do on that end. Do you have any questions on that? Okay.
I'm going to repeat the practices required to be re-eligible.
Can you please send an email with the details around the math equation for makeup practices required following quarantine? It's really not that. Yes, I can, but if you miss 5 to 10, or if you miss 5 to 10, you got to make up 4. If you miss less than 5, you don't have to do any. Do you, Coach Howegger? And then if you miss more than 10, if you miss 4 than 10, you got to do 6. So that's just straight out of the HSA bylaws. And then the last thing I have, the schedule is posted online. I hate when schedules get posted and we say subject to change. That's why I posted it so late. I really hope that it's firm, but you know as well as I do, things can change in a heartbeat around here.
Hey, Andy?
Yeah.
Just as an example, I took a call this afternoon after you and I were together with your team, and Noblesville called about next Tuesday, and they've thrown us a little curveball, but it's now going to be a girls meet at 5 and a boys meet at 7. So we didn't know that. We thought it was going to be a 6 o'clock start. So we'll work on transportation changes and updates, but I just used that as an illustration that we're just going to have to be flexible because it's going to change like that at the last minute.
I hope Deb Sapel, she's the editor of the Twisted, the greatest email update ever. I hope she got that. Did you get that, Deb? I hope you did. I'll send you an email if you did not. 2 other announcements. So we had a great conversation with the seniors today. Senior night is now senior day, and it's going to be the Brownsburg meet on December 5th, Saturday. We will do the girls together, and then the boys will go together. The kids, guys, you've been so proud of these kids, the questions they asked and so forth. It was very important to them that the other team get to be there for senior night. So we believe, with our math, we believe we can allow the entire girls team to be at the meet for the boys, and then each senior boy also to get their entire immediate household into the meet. Now, that would mean that juniors, sophomores, and freshman parents will not be allowed to attend. But that is our plan at this point. We're gonna be able to get the team into the meet, the opposite gender team, and then also siblings and parents of each senior. And so we're really excited about that. In addition to that, we're going to have college recognition night. We started that last year, and last year we honored kids going to swim in college. This year we're going to honor every senior if they've made their college decision. If they haven't, we'll say undecided. But we're going to do that at the North Central dual meet. So we're going to basically honor seniors twice. The big speech senior night will be senior day on December 5th. And then the North Central meet in January will be the senior college recognition night. And like we've said, it's hopeful that things will trend upward and we'll be able to have everybody in during that. One of the questions is how many total swim team members this year? Girls swimmers, boys swimmers, divers. Which portion are freshman families? I don't have, it's changing a little bit because we have people that have quit. We have people that have joined. We have people that were in quarantine. They meant to join on the first day and they weren't. So basically we're at 67 swimmers and around 10 divers. Those are our numbers. I could give you exact numbers on the roster. I could email it to you. What portion are freshman families? I actually don't know that. Do you know that? I have to look at the roster. I apologize. I can get you that information. It's accordion. Okay. Any other questions? Where did you get your cool swim dive mask? We ordered these over the summer, so I think we need to order another 100. We only ordered 100. We'll get another 100 ordered as soon as possible. Okay, anything else? Guys, your seniors are really good. They are, it's a great group of kids. They're very compassionate and interested in their teammates, and please use them to, we're adding a special event for seniors on Saturdays, and so that they have time to meet and talk because they have been overwhelmed. One thing we did talk about today is, you know, how they should answer questions, how they should move stuff to the right people and so forth. And they've just done a great job. I'm really proud of them. And I mean, the work has been great. The kids have been working hard. They, somebody asked me about this whole thing with the weight room and the, because I'm not gonna lie to you. Yesterday I was a little bummed out last night because I really think we've done a good job and it's been very important to us and we've worked very hard. And I was just bummed that you guys didn't feel comfortable coming to us on that. And because we want to be transparent and we want to be reactive to what you think is important. And so the meeting today with the seniors was great. And one thing that we want to do is we want to be as open as possible with anything that we're trying to do. So this is, you know, I've had many members of my family get COVID. Coach Abeger has too. And we understand how important this is and how dangerous this is. And we want to keep everybody safe and do our very best to do so. There's another question here. Do we need parents to volunteer at home meets and to time? The answer to that is going to be yes. And that will be included in essential meet personnel. What are your realistic expectations for this season for both the boys and girls teams? Well, like I said, the work has been really good. I have a vision that these teams could be top 5 at the state meet and win sectionals and win conference. And I think teams are going to be really, really good. I mean, it's very energizing to be around them. They work hard. One of the things I was going to tell you is, you guys have some concerns about the weight room. My concern is that at the just kind of rushing the kids to get from their backpack into the water. And we've talked about different ways to deal with this, and the seniors are going to take this. We're going to look at this challenge this weekend and talk about it a little more. But I kind of feel like and I talked to Dr. Holmgren. I've talked to some of our other parents on our team, Shannon, other people that are physicians and experts in the field. And they really feel like the safest place is the water, and the closer to the water, the better. So for me, it's just a matter of, that's where I get nervous, is getting from the backpacks to the water. And that's why we're rushing them into the water. And then quite frankly, we were rushing them out of the water and out the door. So we're trying to keep them from congregating. But they're human teenagers. They want to congregate. So it's tough, and we get it. And they're great people. And it's really exciting to me that they don't want to just get on their cell phones and talk to each other. They want to talk to each other in person. And I think that's a great problem we have to deal with. You got anything, Matt? Ben's gone. Coach Hobbaker, do you have anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Guys, do you have any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Your kids are awesome. It's a privilege and an honor to work with them, and we look forward to it every day. And we'll see you here at the first meet against Avon, where our plan is to have fans in the stands. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.